Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's time for the Brown Sports Bag from the heart of the Barrens, a weekly local sports machine. Alongside John Butler, here's your host, James Brown.
We're here on the Brown Sports Bag with Glasgow boys golf coach Wade Copas. Wade, I apologize for last year not being able to get these interviews done. We decided to do things a little differently this year, trying to get all of you guys in here because we want everybody to have an opportunity to talk about their players. So thank you for joining me this year. Not holding that against me. We've been friends for a while.
Yeah, it's always great to talk to you, James. And, with last year with COVID going on and everything like that, everything was kind of out of whack. So
Yeah, it was.
No apology necessary.
Let's talk a little bit about the end of last season because you had a couple of seniors and the regional tournament was brutal. And I don't mean that necessarily for them personally. They had good days, but the weather was terrible. The course was rough. It was at crosswinds, and it seemed to live up to its name because the wind was coming from every direction on that day.
It was bad. I've got some really good pictures of me and Coach Pippen out there in the monsoon.
Right.
And some of the pictures are candid of Coach Pippen that I won't share with anybody. That he is looking about as miserable as the weather was. So I think all of our kids had a good time though, and we had a couple kids have really good showings in region. Not anything under par or anything like that, but as far as going out there and showing that they're from Glasgow, and they always represent themselves well, and they always carry themselves really well. But I was really proud that they all stuck it out through the miserable conditions and everything like that. But region's always fun. It's fun for everybody.
When you had Ethan Harlow and Drew Richardson, they were right there at the cut. I mean, it could have gone any way for them.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure the weather had an impact on them, and there were people throughout that day that started well and had a rough finish, and people who had a rough start and a great finish. Yeah. So it could have gone either way for them. But they were two of your leading golfers from the team last year, and you will be without them this year.
Sure.
But you did get a lot of younger guys with some experience last year, didn't you not?
I did. We really came along with a lot of younger kids, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gage Bird. He was Gage Bird. He was also a senior last year, and we'll miss him as well. But I'll tell you, Bo Shelton really came along last year, and he played really well, and he's playing even better now. So I'm really looking forward to what he's got to show this year. And Jace Cook is back for us. Jace is playing really, really well. And both of the Pippen kids, Clay and Cameron, they're outstanding talents. And Branson Bartley showed out last year and really competed for that top 5 spot against the senior. And for as young as he was last year, he showed no fear against going up against the senior. So I was really proud of him. I will tell you that Harrison Belcher's really came along this year. He's playing some really good golf. So we are really competitive as far as the top 5 goes. I've got 10 kids, and any of them at any time could be in that top 5 spot.
Yeah, I saw that Shelton and Cook were out on the summer tour,
Sure.
And Shelton had a couple of wins and a couple of, I think, ties for first in different events. And Cook was kind of in that same neck of the woods.
Yeah.
So it was good to see them doing well during the summer. As you get ready for this particular season, or as you've gotten ready for this particular season, is there a message that you've had for some of your players? I know you have a couple of seniors, Lewis Darst and Ethan Hutcherson, that probably people don't know because they were probably overshadowed last year. But is there a message that you have for your players as you guys have gotten ready for the season?
Well, this is Lewis's first year.
Okay.
And I'm really happy that he's come out. I've known his family for a long time, Michael and Jenny. I've known them for a while, and I'm really happy that Lewis has come out. He's an outstanding kid.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the message goes, what I've tried to convey to these kids is that, myself, Coach Pippen, and Coach Belcher, we're all pulling for these kids. And Coach Pippen's got 2, and Coach Belcher's got 1 kid on the team. I don't have any kids on the team, but the 3 of us collectively are pulling equally for all 10 of these kids to really show out and do their best. The message that I've tried to convey this year is that we're going to be a pro, and what that stands for is that we're personally responsible for opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So each of them have the opportunity every day that we qualify or have a qualifying round really come out and do their very best. And it's a level playing field.
You guys started off with the weekend. Really on Friday you get going in with at Rolling Hills, and I think that's where the regional is going to be.
That's
is that right?
That's right.
So you play a couple of early matches there with the Spartan Classic and the Soki Shootout. How important do you think it is to kind of get out there on that course where the regional will be played and let these guys see that?
Yeah, I think it's very important to just have some kind of course knowledge about where region tournament's going to be held. All A region was there last year, so we got to see the front 9, I believe, in that. Mm-hmm. We didn't get to play all 18, but having these 2 early tournaments over there, I think will definitely give us some kind of edge. Maybe not over anybody else in the region, because I think
everybody's going
to be there. So, but it's important for these kids to get out there and really play that course. And I know that several of them have already been playing that course once we learned where region was going to be held. So they've been out there on their own playing that course as well.
I noticed that it seems like this year, and maybe last year was just because of the COVID situation, it seems like you're playing more of these weekend tournaments this year.
Maybe one, maybe added 1 or 2.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly how many we played in last year. Last year was such a blur, and I'm sure it was for a lot of people. But with having to wear a mask all the time and the heat and stuff, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, there was probably a lot of people by the time they got done with the day, they were probably heat exhausted, had no idea where they were with all those things you just mentioned.
That's right.
But you do have, I guess, a whole slew of matches like in the first week, and then you pick up these weekends, and you have your own invitational on August 21st that you're trying to get some teams signed up for.
Yeah,
right?
Well, we've got plenty of room, so any local teams, hit me up, and we'll get you in there for sure.
Yeah, so because we need that to continue to go on.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
When you kind of look at some of these early tournaments that you have, what are some things you're looking for from your players?
Really, the only thing that I'm looking for is them playing smart, being competitive, but at the same time holding themselves to the demeanor that we expect out of them as Glasgow High School students.
Mm-hmm. And then you guys have the All-A Regional at Hidden Hills on August 23rd. Do you kind of circle that one and think, this is a chance for us to show what we can do?
2 years ago we won the All-A region at Kentucky Hills and Summershade, and we got the chance to go to Richmond, and I would very much like to go back this year.
Yeah. Do you have some, because we mentioned you only have the 2 seniors, so all these guys will be back for the most part next year.
Right.
How important do you think would it be for them to do well at the All-A region, get to the All-A state, and then get back to the regional tournament?
Sure, I think that any kind of success that you have as a team can only better the chances of your successes going forward. Mm-hmm. So to make a good showing at Tompkinsville on the 23rd would be fantastic, and if we get the opportunity to go to the state tournament, I know that we'll represent ourselves really well, and I just think that momentum will take us into region.
Got you. Anything else about this particular season or your team you'd like people to know?
Yeah, I'd just like everybody to know that I've got probably 10 of the best kids around this area, as far as not just as their athletic talent as golfers, but just being good, solid people. They're all good students. They're all very respectful. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be happier with this team, with the coaching staff, with these parents. I couldn't ask to be in a better role than what I'm in now.
Well, Wade, I want to thank you for coming by and joining us this year to talk about your team. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these golf matches, hopefully without the heat stroke element attached to them. All right, this is the Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's in Glasgow. We've been here with Glasgow boys golf coach Wade Copas.
Thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
We're back on the Brown Sports Bag, and we have more coaches coming in. It's a coaches carousel here in recent weeks of the Brown Sports Bag. With us today, we have Bart Roberts, the girls golf coach at Glasgow High School in your second season, I believe it is, over there.
That's correct.
And I don't want to put any expectations on you, but I've talked to a few folks, and they seem to be putting some expectations on you guys with the loss of McKenna Stahl and Faith Martin at South Warren. And I know you guys lost Abby Lee and Allie McCoy, but you had a good group coming up, and so I think a lot of people are maybe they're using you as the bullseye. I'm not sure what exactly the deal is there.
That's kind of the mentality we've been taking into the beginning of this season so far, is that it's ours to take, but nobody's going to give us anything, and we've got to go out and earn it, and we've got to outwork them. My girls were out at 7:45 this morning grinding. They're ready. They're ready to compete.
Yeah. And the golf season gets started early, so you guys will have played a couple of tournaments and got a bunch of them on the list, I'm guessing, over the next couple of weeks before school gets started.
Oh my gosh! So we call it Gauntlet Week, and this year is worse than any that I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years for Glasgow. We've got a tournament coming up this Friday, and then the girls get the weekend off, and then we've got a tournament Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. No, I'm sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday.
Wow.
So they're going to be looping a lot.
So what is it with that early grind? What is it you're hoping your players get from something like that?
Well, reps, repetitions, and then tournament experience. The Monday tournament is at Bowling Green Country Club, which is where State is, so we're hoping to get some reps in early there. Tuesday is Indian Hills, which is where our region is this year, so we want to get as many reps as we can because region is obviously our goal this year, one of our goals. But it's just reps, and it's points for All-State, so we definitely want to make the All-State tournament up in Lexington, and you have to have enough points to qualify for that. So I told my girls to buckle up because we're going to play in every event that we possibly can.
Yeah, and the All-State is a new thing that they started last year or 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years.
Yeah, and that's kind of a point system where teams can qualify for that All-State. It's kind of a play off of the state tournament in a way. Is it at the same time as the state tournament?
No, it's actually about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of the state tournament.
Okay.
I don't want to put any words in anyone's mouth, but I think it was created to try to equalize some of the regions that have multiple good teams. For example, Region 3 last year, we had us and South Warren. 2 top 5 teams in the state of Kentucky, and only one can go to state. So, I mean, you've got the same way up in Louisville and Lexington. There's multiple really good teams who all can't qualify for state. So it's a 2-day tournament up in Lexington. You just have to get points to qualify, and then it's usually the best of the best up there.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about the Region 3, last year I think the third-place team and maybe even the fourth-place team would have knocked off some of the teams in a couple of regions that had state qualifiers.
Our region shooting score, which every course is different, our region shooting score would have won 8 regions.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a thick field there in Region 3 last year.
It was.
To your point, you were talking about that All-State points and all. Let's talk a little bit about some of the players you have. You have Nina McMurtry coming back. I'm going to guess that she's probably the person a lot of people are looking at because she's had good summers. She had a good year last year, and she's just a solid all-around player coming back. I'm sure a lot of people consider her one of the better ones in the region, maybe the best player in the region.
Maybe we'll see what she shoots on region. It all depends on what she shoots on region day. That's why we go out and play. But absolutely, she's going to be competitive. She's been working her butt off. She's been grinding. She's been playing in a lot of AJGA events, a lot of Bluegrass Tour events. She's been putting in the reps, so I'm excited for her.
Now, but you also had a pack of younger players last year who came on. I mean, they really started in the 90s, and they gave you guys a chance because they were in the low 80s by the time you got to the end of the season there. Tell me about some of those players.
No, absolutely. We've got a star-studded lineup this year, and I couldn't be more excited about it. We've got Bailey Birdsell, who shot her personal best this morning, so she's trending down. And then we've got Grayson Flatt, who's also shooting low 80s, high 70s, so she's playing great. We've got Lena Harlow, who, like you said, was shooting in the 90s pretty consecutively, and then towards the end of the season, she was dropping her scores really quickly. And then we've also got one who didn't play last year, but she's been on the Glasgow golf team, and she's excited to be back, Ava Grace Towle, and so she's going to be a great fifth to help us out. So I couldn't be more excited.
Tell me a little bit, when you go to some of these tournaments you guys are playing in, I mean, you talked about getting in the reps and that kind of stuff, but do you also pick out tournaments knowing there are going to be some of the better teams in the state at those tournaments?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I want my girls to be playing against competition that's equal or better than them, just so that it's good for them. We don't want to go out and win tournaments with a non-competitive field. We want to go out and beat the best. So
you don't want the empty calories. Huh?
No, I mean, the reps are nice, but at the end of the day, I want my girls to have to grind, and I want them to have to compete head-to-head.
Now, what is the mindset maybe that you have with your players in terms of you go and play in some of these more competitive tournaments? Let's say you go and play in one and you finish 5th or 6th, and your expectations maybe in placement was higher. What is some of the conversation you have with your players, especially early in the season, in those kind of situations?
Early in the season, we just continue to focus on personal scores, so shoot better than you've shot. And so with my girls, they've been playing for 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And we go to almost the same tournaments every year. So they've seen the courses before. They've got scores on those courses. And so every year we're trying to better ourselves, be better than last year, be better than last year. And this is their senior year, so I hope they can put out all their personal bests at all these courses this year.
Now, last year being your first year coaching, I think, period, right?
Yeah, period.
So what are some things you learned from last year to this year, just as a coach?
Oh, my gosh. I don't even have a list. I don't think I have enough qualities on both hands to describe. I mean, it was such a good leadership role for me. The girls were already so good at golf, and I just went into the season, and I told them in the very first team meeting, I said, I'm not going to fix your swing. I said, most of you all are better than me at golf, so I'm not going to come in here. You're paying $50, $100, $200 for a lesson with your swing coaches. So I just go in, I try to motivate them, I try to keep their heads up, keep them fed, hydrated. I hate to say I'm more of a facilitator than a coach, but at this point, I'm still learning. And this year, too, I'm still learning how to be a coach.
Gotcha. You know, years ago, Tim McMurtry's tennis teams did real well at regional tennis, and he used to tell me he was just the bus driver. And I always thought that was a funny description.
I almost feel that way sometimes. I mean, I play with them occasionally at practice, and just to make sure that they understand. Sometimes I hit a really good shot, and they're like, oh, he knows what he's doing. And then sometimes I shank one off into the woods, and they're like, he's just like us. And so when we go to a tournament and I'm like, keep your head up, I've been in this situation. That it gives them a little more, it gives me a little more, I don't know how to say it, relatability to them. So.
What else are you looking forward to, or are there anything specific about this upcoming season you'd like people to know about your team or that thing?
We're excited for our Lady Scotty Invitational next Thursday at the Willow Oaks Country Club. This is the 21st year in a row that they've had it. At the beginning of the season, it's August 5th.
Okay.
So next Thursday, we're excited to host everyone. But other than that, I mean, we're just really looking forward to a great season. I keep telling my girls to slow down and live in the moment because I have 5 seniors, and it can fly by sometimes. So I look back at the end of last season and say, how's the season already over? So I don't want that to happen to them this season. So keep them in the moment.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. Well, Coach Roberts, I thank you for coming by and talking to us about your team. Good luck to you guys going forward. Look forward to seeing you out there on the course.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, it's Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's in Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
We are back on the Brown Sports Bag with Barren County girls soccer coach Lee McFarland, who is returning to the sidelines. I thought you had retired there, Lee, but apparently they roped you into coaching again.
Yeah, I thought I'd retired too. Like I tell everybody, it's kind of like the mafia. You think you're out, and then they pull you back in. But they're either glutton for punishments or I am. I don't know.
Well, and you do wind up in a pretty good situation because you have a lot of the talent returning from last year's team that got to the regional semifinal, nearly upset Greenwood. I mean, what a game that was. I don't know if you've gone back and watched tape or were over there for it. But, I mean, Barren was right there with an opportunity to knock off the team that eventually won the title. So you got to feel good about where you are in terms of taking over this program.
Yeah, thanks for putting the pressure on me.
It's all right. You can handle it.
The thing is, when you come into new coach or new players, either way, works both ways, have to get to know each other. And you have to establish that, really what I call trust. They have to trust that, I'm going to do what's in their best interest and best for the team, and vice versa. I have to be able to trust them if I ask them to do something that they haven't done before, maybe play a different position. It all goes into the preseason. That's what we're working on now. So, but we have good players that are coming back, and conditioning this year I think is something that they haven't done before. And just in the first 2 weeks here, all of them can see what just 2 weeks of conditioning has done for them. And I think that's again trying to build that trust. They say, well, he's having us do this for a reason. So.
Well, and last year the conditioning setup was just all jacked up because of the COVID situation, the season being delayed and not even being able to put. You can only have like 10 at a time or some stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't even know what all they went through last year, and I don't want to. That would have been, that'd have been a monster for everybody: players, coaches, ADs, administration, everything.
Yeah, so you also get the benefit of getting started this season and not having to deal with any of that stuff, so you were able to get your players out there and get to work this year. Right,
players out there, the schedule is already done. We've had to tweak just a couple of things on it, but as far as that, the organization stuff, I'm sure it's a lot easier than it was last year for everybody.
Now, you're no stranger to soccer in terms of you played in high school, right?
Yeah, I played since I was, 8-9 years old.
Right.
And then went to Jeffersontown. And we had a pretty good team there. Started playing for them in the 8th grade. And they had gone to, we were the state runners up. Yeah. And then I was bused to Louisville Central my freshman year. Came back sophomore year, and we were in the Final Four again. So, but been around it. Coached at Warren Central, Greenwood, Glasgow, and then Barren.
Yeah, and you've coached the boys and the girls at the Barren. Is that right? In the past,
right? Yeah, I started out as co-ed when I first started, and then they separated to the boys and the girls team, and I did the guys. Then I took a season off. Well, I took a year off coaching altogether, just to finish up my master's. And then by the end of that next year, or by the end of that year, Mr. Hale was going around and introducing me as the girls' soccer coach. And I became the girls' soccer coach.
So with that background, I mean, what are some of the things that you bring to the program that may be a little different than what the girls have experienced in the past?
Well, I think I know what it takes to put together a team. It's just like putting together a puzzle. You got these pieces here, and you got to make them fit to create the best product you can. And I'm pretty good at that. I may not be the quickest at it. It takes some guys can do it maybe in a week or a week and a half. It takes me 2 to 3 weeks, and that's about what we have before our first game. Right. I know some of the kids were asking about a practice game. And I told them, I said, well, our practice game is going to be our first game. Yeah. Because we need to get everybody there. We haven't had a full team practice yet with everybody there.
Yeah, they got governor's scholars and things like that going on this summer.
Matter of fact, I haven't seen our keeper this year. But we have 2 young ones that are coming up, and they should be pretty good. But I don't think they're ready for that, starting varsity role yet. But.
Yeah. So I'm guessing most of these kids just from the school and that kind of stuff?
Acquaintance of a lot of them, yes. Okay, but as far as seeing them, as being around them soccer-wise, except for watching them play a couple times last year, I didn't have any experience with that.
With that, are there specific expectations you have for this team? Because, I mentioned here at the beginning that, they had a successful year last year, did well. Are there any expectations that you've walked in and you said, you guys are capable of doing this, or I expect us to be able to do this?
I expect us to be competitive with everybody. I don't care if we're playing Bowling Green or Greenwood, or if we're playing Monroe County or Glasgow. Or every game on our schedule is just as important as the other, and I want to be competitive each game.
Yeah. Are there any players in this leading up to the practices that you've had so far that you're like, okay, we're probably going to need them to do well, or we're going to need specific things out of these players?
Well, everybody will need to contribute. That's why they're there.
Yeah.
As far as putting together, like I said, we play in 2 weeks, a week and a half. Yeah. And I've got a starting lineup in my mind. Well, I got 10 of 11. Yeah. In my mind, I got one spot I need to see what's going to happen. But then as far as the ones that aren't starting, I expect things out of them when they come in off the bench, and they'll get their time.
When you look down at your schedule, you guys open up against at John Hardin, and I don't know how strong John Hardin is traditionally as a program, but they do usually have some pretty good players.
Yeah, they're a decent team, very very good team.
Yeah. When you look at that as your opening game, what are you looking for from your team in that opening game?
Well, with that one, again, without a practice game going in, I'm looking probably for a lot of difference between the first half and the second half.
Yeah.
When they come in, we can make some adjustments. That's where I'll find out, who's listening, who's trusting me. And,
Right.
Of course, I'll make mistakes too. If I could be over there with a little joystick like on Atari, it'd be great. But you can't do that. And it also a big effect too with high school kids. I've come to find out they may be rock stars on Monday, Tuesday they come in, they're not. Then boom, they're rock star again on Thursday. But it just varies with them. It's not lack of consistency there, and I think that's from the best player in any sport down to the role players on the team. So they have good days and bad days too.
Now you didn't put this schedule together, I don't guess.
No,
You inherited it.
yeah, I inherited it.
But when you look down this schedule, are there some marquee games on here that you're like, all right, we're going to learn beyond the first game, that we're going to learn something about our team or who's playing the roles I need them to be playing?
I think probably before the end of that second week of games, we'll have a good understanding of what we need to do, and that's me, what I need to do, and the players, what they need to do. That first week and a half will tell a lot to me and to them.
Getting back into this after some time away, what are you most excited about?
Competition. I'm a competitive person.
Yeah.
When they came to me and asked me about doing it, my hesitancy was on my, I like to demonstrate and show, and my knees and hips can't do that anymore. I told them, I said,
age catches up.
Yeah, the competitiveness is there.
Yeah.
I don't like, of course, probably nobody else does either, all the paperwork, the schedule, and stuff like that was done, so that's good. And Melanie DeWeese, my assistant coach, she does a great job of taking care of a lot of things, not just on the field, but also off the field, and that helps out quite a bit.
She is a constant with this program over the last few years, and that's probably been helpful for you and for Lawrence Niken, who was before you the last couple of years. Is it? Do you think that's the case?
Yeah. Back before when I did the girls at Barren, I also had one of her other daughters that played, Carrie Odell, so she knows me as a coach, as her being a parent. Now she's understanding, what it's like to go through as a coach.
Right.
And she's also a good liaison between me and the parents. So she knows I'm out there for the kids, and that's what it's all about. And she helps out. Being a female team, a lot of times the girls will go to her instead of to me, which that's understandable.
Yeah.
But and again, just getting to know me, they go through her, and that's fine with me. That's good.
Is there anything else about this upcoming season or your team you'd like people to know about?
Well, I know we have a lot of home games.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of opportunities. That's one thing I looked at the schedule and I looked down and I said, man, 4 away games. That's good. With the home game schedule, we don't have to travel. Well, even Glasgow being an away game, that's basically a home game, same park, right? So that was very enticing.
Yeah.
In our district, it's just us in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Allen County was supposed to have a team and be in our district, but they're just fielding a JV team. So we do have a game with them, but it's just JV. I just think it's a great opportunity to get us out there and to be seen and see what these girls can do. We have a lot of returners, like you said, that are decent soccer players. Before, when I coached, we might have 2 or 3 that really stand out, and then there's a big gap. Here, you look at our first, 14 to 16. They're pretty close together, and they can all play pretty well.
All right, well, Coach, thank you for coming in. Coach McFarland here, Lee McFarland, the first year again girls soccer coach at Barren County. This is Brown Sports Bag, brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Presented by McDonald's of Glasgow, it's back to the studio with James and John, the Brown Sports Bag.
We are here on the Brown Sports Bag with Glasgow Lady Scotties soccer coach Scott Zettelmoyer. Scott, you guys had some quality players that you lost from last season, but the bulk of at least your offense, I think it is coming back. Now, you lost some key defenders, I guess, is the way it worked out for you guys off of last season.
Yeah, pretty much. We graduated 9 seniors last year, majority of that coming from our back line or our defensive mid role in defense or in the midfield. And we do have majority of our attack back. We're going to try and build around them, and we've got a lot of new girls that are going to be coming in and trying to build around the pieces that we have and try and get something going forward.
Yeah, I guess Aubrey, at least offensively, is one of the key players that people are probably going to be trying to pay attention to her as you guys compete against them.
Aubrey, Kirsten Crow, and Caroline Murphy are going to be 3 very important players when it comes to our attack. And then there's going to be a girl that's probably going to sneak up on some people, I think, and that's going to be Eleanor Woody, I think. She's going to be able to really really be a difference maker in the midfield, I think. And
she primarily was a defender last season, is that correct?
As far as I've ever had her, she's always played on the back line.
Yeah.
But with what we have now, I feel like she has the potential to be able to develop into a quality midfielder, and that's what I've always told her is that was what the end game was to get her into the midfield eventually and get her comfortable around it, and she's been thriving really well right now in practices. So.
Well, and your district situation is a little odd these days because it just ends up being you guys in Barren County. It used to have Clinton County in there, used to have Monroe in there. They've not fielded girls teams. Allen County is coming into the district eventually, but they don't have a girls team. I think they're just doing JV this year.
Yes.
So it's just you and Barren in there. I think you guys played once during the regular season last year and then played in the district tournament, so to speak.
Yeah, we were supposed to have played twice, but with it just being the first one that counted, we just both decided not to play a second game and just play the one game and then worry about district when district came around. So that's how it just worked out last year.
Yeah, with the COVID, they decided to just, instead of the usual both games count in the district standings, you got, I think they did it in every sport,
yes.
as it turned out.
Yeah.
They just played that first game, and that was the one that counted as far as home and away is essentially for you guys, since they're not really a seeding as it works out.
It's pretty much, it's going to just be whoever, I don't know how they're going to do it because I don't know how it comes down to if it goes to a split, if we win one and they win one.
Yeah.
It's just going to be whoever decides to wear what jersey that day is what it's going to come down to.
I mean, because you guys are just a parking lot away from each other in terms of home and away as it is concerned. So just with that in mind, I mean, you guys lost a heartbreaker to Barren a couple of years ago in the district final. And then last year's game was real tough again. And you guys just have not been able to give her the hump against them the last couple of years. For some reason, we can hand it to them in the regular season. We can handle them. We can play with them. We can do what we need to do during the regular season. But they've had the upper hand definitely when it comes to postseason play. I'm gonna have to. A couple of the decisions I made in years prior have been my fault, and that's the reason we've lost. Or just fluke accidents like last year. We had a girl slip and fall, and that's what led to the game-winning goal. It's just things like that just haven't gone our way for these past couple years. I'm hoping that maybe the ball will just fall into the right net this year for us, and we'll get the job done this year. When you look at your team overall, what are your kind of expectations, or what are you telling your players your expectation is for this particular season?
I mean, we're focused on building a bolstering attack. We're trying to really emphasize our attack this year because I feel like we haven't scored goals in the games that have mattered the most. When we played Barren, other than last year, was the first year that we've actually. I think that one ended 3-2. So, but years prior, it's been 1-0 or 2-1 games, and I'm really wanting us to emphasize we've got to go out and we got to get on the front foot quick, and we got to go in and we got to score a whole lot more goals in games. And because surprisingly, even though it's not the core of our defense, we do have some good defensive players coming back. We get Abby back in goal this year for her second year. She had a tremendous season last year for it being her first year. So we've got some experience in our back line and some in our goalkeeper. So I feel like our back line should be pretty well protected, and we should be pretty decent on the defensive side at least.
When you look at your schedule, are there games? I mean, we mentioned the district games. You open there with Barren County, I think it is, on August 17th. When you look at your schedule, are there games on there where you're like, okay, this is where I'm going to learn this about my team, or I'm going to learn whatever about my team? Do you kind of look at your schedule that way?
Yeah, a lot of it's going to come down to, like, when we play at Warren East, like, we understand that that's going to be on a turf field. It's going to be a bigger field, so it's going to be able to see where we are in our defensive shape aspect and understanding of how we can defend on this bigger field. I don't know where region is this year, so that's always been a thing we need to make a point of emphasis for us.
Yeah, because it was at Warren East last year.
Exactly. So it was just a gigantic field, and if you've never played on a gigantic field, it's another level, especially because our field's on the narrow side, and it just makes it a little easier.
Yeah, and that turf, the ball just skips across the turf.
It's weird. They're having the issues right now in the Olympic Games. This ball just spins differently for them. And then I feel like the South Warren and the Warren, like, right off the back, all of those games right off the back, I feel like are just going to be to see where we are, to get us prepared for going into the Class A region and Class A sectional. Hopefully we win the region, we get to go to sectional, and then hopefully we can make something out of it and get us prepared for that last Barren County game, and then get us ready for, if we make it to Class A state, for Class A state. If not, we've got the chance to play against a really good Southwestern team, and they've been traditionally really good over the past couple of years, and hopefully that'll get us really well prepared for district and playing against a tough opponent against Barren.
How does the Class A shape up this year? Do you know who you'll play and where?
Our first game at Class A region is going to be against Clinton County, okay. So that should be a decent game for us to get on the front foot early and get us prepared for the championship game if we win that game. And then if we win that, we play the winner of whoever's on the other side, which it's Todd County gets the bye this year, and they play the winner of Russell County versus Monroe County, okay. Which that game might be a really interesting game to watch because Monroe County is on the up and up right now. Their new coach is just doing a really good job over there. She's been really preaching and trying to get these girls out there and get them ready and get them playing hard, and I really enjoyed playing against them last year in the Class A, not Class A, in regular region last year, and that was just a really fun experience seeing them there and for their first time.
Yeah. I failed to mention that the reason Monroe and Clinton aren't in the district anymore is because they've made it that 16th district, basically.
Yes.
And so it's Russell County, Monroe, and Clinton over there in that district, I believe it is. So that's why you will have the opportunity to play them, but it's not a district game.
Exactly.
For those people who remember, they were like, well, I thought Monroe County was in the district.
Yeah.
Well, they used to be. So you also you mentioned that early part. I mean, you're talking Barren, Warren Central, South Warren, Warren East in your first 4 games there. 3 of those away, even though Barren's away, like we mentioned, across the parking lot. That's a pretty good opening salvo for you guys.
Oh yeah, I feel like it's going to be. I figured why not just put us through the gauntlet at the beginning rather than at the end, because I've made that my issue the past couple seasons. I think we've gone through the gauntlet at the end of the season, and we run into some injury issues. So I was like, let's start off with the gauntlet, see where where we are at physically and what we need to work on in practices, and that way, after pretty much that Warren East game, we can really focus on getting better together and trying to go out and win some really, really important games.
Gotcha. I don't know. The schedule looks a little short to me, just traditionally speaking.
It is. I tried to get some other games, and we run into the issue of not having enough. Some teams running short on numbers.
Gotcha. Us
running short on numbers, and when that's the case, I just didn't really want to overexert the girls when it's going to be a long season no matter what. Because if we do end up going to Class A state and we just so happen to make it to the the Class A state championship, we would have to play I think it's 3 games that weekend, so that adds an extra 3 games. So having to give us a little bit of leeway here and there, but no, yeah, it is. I did have a shorter schedule this year, and it was just to try and keep the girls healthier. We ran into some injuries last year and the year prior, so just trying to give them a little bit more rest in between games.
Is there a little more focus with the lighter actual game schedule, focus on like practice conditioning and that kind of thing in these gaps?
Yes, that's the ideal is more. We want to be able to recover, have better recovery, and then be able to have good preparation for the next game. I feel like the issues we've had in the past with the injuries is due to the fact that those injuries didn't come during games. They came during practices, because you play a game, when you go to the next practice, and that's where they get hurt because they didn't cool down in the game the night before. They didn't do the proper things to warm up in the practice at that time. So it's trying to give us a little bit more gaps in everything to able to keep us healthier throughout the season, especially with our numbers being a little lower than they normally are.
Gotcha. Is there anything else about your team or this season you'd like people to know?
If they go to Glasgow in their 7th through 12th grade, and they're a girl and they want to play soccer, have them come on out. We'll gladly take them. Just have them bring a physical. I think that our seniors in Gabby, Isabella, Kirsten, and Aubrey are going to be great leaders this year. I'm really excited to see what they do when they actually decide to step on the field together and play against these other teams this year. I just feel like we have a chance this year to do something kind of special, even with our numbers being a little lower. I feel like that kind of makes us an underdog this year, even more so than against Barren County. So I feel like that might make us be able to achieve some great things this season.
All right, that sounds good, Scott. All right, it's the Brown Sports Bag brought to you by McDonald's of Glasgow. We've been here with Glasgow Lady Scotty soccer coach Scott Zettelmoyer. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for listening, and be sure and join James and John once again next Monday at 4 for the Brown Sports Bag, a local weekly sports machine presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. Coming soon to your FM dial, this is Fox Sports Radio, WCDS Glasgow, AM 1230.